I see 61 hands, so that means we do have a quorum, so we're able to do business today. And then I'm going to ask Matt. He has the button to remove all the reacts and force everybody's hands down. Or sorry, Rob has the button. So
Yes, I
if
do.
you can manually lower your hands, but I'll ask Rob to click the button, and that should make them all go away.
Yep, cleared.
Okay. So there is essentially one item of business, which is what the special meeting was called for. But before we go through that item of business, yes, yeah. We also need to, in order to have minutes for this meeting that we put on the website, we need to either approve those minutes in another meeting of the members, which wouldn't be until September, or we need to appoint a committee to approve the minutes for this meeting. The way this will work is the secretary will create the minutes for the meeting and then submit those to the minutes committee for this meeting, and the minutes committee will approve them, and then we'll put them on the website. Um, I'm going to go ahead and nominate the minutes committee, and they'll become the committee unless there's any objection to those people. The people that I have who volunteered who agreed to do this are Matt Marheine, Daniel Crabtree, and Bo Brugman. So unless someone has a comment, if you want to raise your hand or say something in chat, you can. But without any opposition, they will be the minutes committee for this meeting. I'm not seeing any hands or any chat.
Note, Daniel Crabtree is not attending this meeting. Does that matter?
No.
Okay.
They're approving the minutes. They don't actually need to be here. They need to, because they could watch the recording. They could do whatever they need to do to make sure
Yep.
that the things are true. Okay. The next order of business is the bylaws amendment being presented by the bylaws committee. What I would like to do is have the present member of the bylaws committee present what we're doing here. I think a lot of people already know what that is, but we can just walk through it real quick, and then we will open the floor for anyone who wants to discuss that and give people time to talk, and then we'll run the vote. Kyle, do you want to introduce what we have going on here?
Really? Only if my audio is clear enough for you guys.
Yeah, you're clear, but so are the people in the background.
Okay, I'm going to wander to the basement and see what happens. Whoa! Hit my head into pieces. Hi, folks. This motion is here because everyone wanted to not attend these meetings, and so this is to you not attending these meetings, but still have your vote back through the through Discord, and we had a lot of conversations with the parliamentarian and a few members of the board, and I went through a few different iterations of this. It was originally intended just for elections, but there's conversation about how will we ever modify bylaws again if we have a hard enough time getting people to attend these meetings. Would you like the whole amendment read out?
I believe everyone has had a chance to take a look at this. Can we just summarize the meaningful portion of this so that folks present can understand what this actually does?
Absolutely. So the meaningful portion of this is that we're utilizing a section of Minnesota nonprofit regulations to allow us to do this. Specifically, we're changing the election method to allow for balloting to be conducted outside of a meeting. Specifically, Section 6.2 is being modified there to include a voting period of 7 to 14 days, ending no later than 30 minutes after the meeting is scheduled to begin. The intention is for the voting to happen such that the membership voting at the meeting can vote to accept the election results and get everything done so that by the end of the AGM, we actually have a new board elected. This is also going to be applicable to modifying bylaws as well. This also, I think, does a small change to how we handle vacancies, such that elections may be called to fill the vacancy. Previously, there was some issues of not being able to do it based off of timelines, and those have been updated accordingly.
Okay, thanks, Kyle. I just reviewed the text of the bylaws amendment, and it appears that this only applies to elections and elections for board vacancies. Um,
Oh,
we
I
could
might have.
certainly change the rules again to do it for bylaws, but I don't think we can do that right now. But certainly something we can address at the meeting later this year.
I'm sorry. I've got so many different versions of this in my head at this point that
Yeah,
I apologize.
that's fair. I just want to make sure everybody knows what we're actually voting on today. So now that Kyle's had an opportunity to explain what's going on, I want to essentially open up the floor to anyone who has any commentary on this. If you would like to talk, you can use the raise hand button, and we'll go through the people who raise their hands in order and give you a short amount of time to speak if you would like to. Otherwise, I will leave things open for a couple minutes and then we'll proceed with the vote.
We had hands from one person put their hand out. We have a couple hands up right now, Joe.
Sorry.
Okay. Rob, can you go ahead and make it so, or I think people can unmute themselves.
Yes.
Yeah. Brooke, go ahead if you'd like to speak.
Hi, folks. Just checking audio working. Can you hear me? Great. I just want to say thanks to the bylaws committee for putting this together. I know this is something that a lot of folks had thoughts about at previous elections, and it's good to see folks directly responding to what folks were asking for. I haven't seen or heard personally a good argument against expanding the voting window here. So just thanks for folks for putting in the work to get what members wanted, and I urge everyone to vote in support of this.
Thanks, Brooke. The other hand I see raised is Simon Sharber. Simon, if you want to unmute yourself, you can go ahead and.
Yo. All right. So I just want to clarify. This is because I'm trying to go through and find where this is at or more details of this proposal. But essentially, from what just want to make sure that I have a good understanding of it. This is for elections going forward on expanding the window of it or of being able to vote or.
I can clarify, and then if I'm wrong, Kyle or someone else who's an expert can let everybody know.
Awesome.
It's
I see the
yeah.
I see links.
Yeah, you can see the link. But for a little wider explanation, previous years, people have had to vote during an approximately 8-hour window during our annual meeting. Those usually held on Saturdays, and people expressed that they would prefer to have a longer amount of time in order to vote on the election of the board of directors.
Okay.
So
Okay.
this will extend it to at least 1 week prior to that meeting that we would open the ballot. People would be able to vote during that week, and then we would affirm the results of the election at the annual meeting.
Gotcha. Yeah, I remember the first meeting, and it was a little bit awkward for me because I was at work at the same time.
Yeah.
But thank you. That answers my question.
Okay. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak?
It looks like we have
Robert.
Robert.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Robert. Robert, you can go ahead and unmute yourself and speak.
Yeah, hi, thanks. So I'm just reading the text of this again. I just want to make sure I understand. So there's basically not going to be a chance to vote during the annual meeting because it says the period ends no later, the voting period, balloting period ends no later than 30 minutes after the annual meeting is scheduled to begin. So they're like on the day of the actual meeting, we're theoretically going to have 30 minutes to vote, like for people who wanted to vote on that day. Is that
It depends on how you define day, because usually our meetings started sometime in the morning. So you would certainly have between
Yes.
midnight and the time that the meeting started in order to cast your vote if you wanted to do that as well. But it would be available for that entire week prior. At least.
Right.
It could be 2 weeks. That's up to the elections committee to decide. They have a window what they would like to do.
Right. So, I mean, this is not directly related to the text of the amendment, but then presumably anything that the candidates will have to say in support of their candidacy would have to have been published ahead of time. And there's not going to be like a debate or candidate question period or anything like that during the meeting because there's no time to vote during the meeting.
Correct. We would not have that portion of the annual meeting where the candidates will be able to give a statement.
Okay.
Certainly
right. I'm fine with that. I just want to make sure everyone like I'm understanding what's going on. Thanks.
Yeah, it's certainly not a bylaws situation where we would if we wanted to have all of the candidates come on stream a week before, like right when the ballots were opening, and do a similar thing. That is just a thing we could just do without had any requirements. The elections committee might need to approve the format of that, but I'm not familiar with. Yeah, but that's outside of the scope.
The text does not preclude that from happening, right? You know,
correct.
That can all still happen, right?
Yeah. Okay, I don't see any other hands right now, but I'm going to give folks a minute if they're still thinking about stuff.
Looks like we have a Matt who raised hand to speak.
Yeah, Matt, if you'd like to speak, you can go ahead and unmute.
Evening all. So one thing that I can see coming out of this potentially, especially with the cutoff time being 30 minutes after the start of the meeting, there may be quorum issues that come up because it looks like we'll need to be establishing that quorum based on the number of ballots received. And so if we're discovering like when the meeting is starting, as we saw tonight, as we've seen previous like yearly meetings, we've had to like be lobbying people, hey, get on, we need more people to hit quorum. If this is happening for an election, we would run up against that 30-minute limit.
Yeah, I think the Matt can confirm if he wants, but I think the result here, or I think that's unlikely to be a problem because of the number of people who have voted in the election has always been 2, 3, 4 times as much as the people who attend the meeting, because you don't have to actually tune in or be there for the quorum call. So I don't think we would have an issue with getting enough people to vote in the election to accept the results. Now, if we could have other quorum issues at the meeting as we have before, but I think we'd have to address that separately.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I'll address John O'Donnell's comment in the chat. He said that he thinks the meeting can't start without a quorum. That's true. The mechanics would essentially change. Previously, we had to have a quorum to begin the annual meeting, and once we had that quorum, we would run the election. We'd run all our other votes, and then we would run the election as well, and then it would be valid based on that quorum. Now, the election moves outside of the annual meeting, and the quorum for the election is established by the number of ballots that are cast in that election, and then the annual meeting would accept the results of that election, which would require a separate quorum vote, but that we still have that same problem. The meat of this amendment is to move the election outside of that annual meeting. I'm trying to understand what John is saying. His last comment, Matt, was that the 30-minute timer can't start until enough ballots are cast. Is that implied by the text of this amendment?
It says scheduled to begin. It doesn't say when it actually begins. It says the
If you want.
it ends on the day of the annual meeting when it's scheduled to begin.
Yeah, so this is Matt. The amendment says that the voting period ends at a time that the election committee chooses. That time has to be on the same day as the annual meeting, and it has to be no later than 30 minutes after this annual meeting is scheduled to begin. So it doesn't matter when we get quorum for the annual meeting, we know when that 30-minute period is up because the annual meeting is going to be called to begin at 6 o'clock p.m. And then therefore, the election committee can't choose anything later than 6:30 that day, if that makes sense. So it's when it's scheduled to begin, irrespective of what actually happens during the meeting.
And then to be clear, the quorum for the meeting is independent of the quorum for the election.
Yes, that's correct. If this amendment passes, the voting for the election will be completely separated from the annual meeting. It just happens to coincide that we're going to make the voting period for the election end on the same day as the annual meeting. But functionally, they're completely separated.
Okay, thanks. I don't see any other hands raised or anything to address in the chat. If anyone else has anything, I'll give you all a minute to think about it.
We have another hand raised from Robert.
Okay, yeah. Rob,
Sorry,
you can go ahead.
I'm not. You mentioned before that like after the election, the results have to be accepted by the annual general meeting. I'm not seeing that in the text. Is that just somewhere else, or from my reading, it seems like
Yeah,
the election is the election.
Yeah, I believe that's correct. I think we would essentially just announce them. I don't necessarily.
Okay.
I don't think we need to actually accept them, although we could if we wanted to.
Okay.
But I think we're likely bound by the election regardless. So
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry. The thing that I misspoke on before, Joe, was that in the case of a vacancy, we no longer have to call a special meeting. We can just do an election asynchronously,
okay,
which is the advantage of this.
yes, that is quite nice. Okay, I am not seeing any more raised hands or any more comments, so I'm going to move forward with the voting portion of this. First, I'm going to explain how I would like everybody to vote and what our vote thresholds are, and then we'll go ahead and do that. So the way that the vote is going to work is I'm going to ask people who either agree or don't agree to raise their hands, and then they'll do that. I want everybody to keep their hands raised. I will give a moment for people to do that, and then I will say, okay, we're going to count the vote. When we do that, please don't change the state of your raised hands. I'm going to take some screenshots. We're going to do some counting, and then we'll announce the number that is there, and then we will reset the state of the hands, and we will do that for the opposed. I want to make sure that it is a little bit wonky here in Zoom, and my screen is only so large, so we're going to have to take a moment. Okay, give me one second.
It gives us quite a bit of information, Joe, because it shows the number of hands raised at the bottom if you scroll the way down, or if you're looking at the bottom of the screen. And it puts all the people with raised hands at the top of the list. So,
okay, I can't see the number of raised hands, but you can.
Yep. Okay. So
Okay.
I'll report that and I'll take screenshots of that.
Yeah. Okay, great. So I will once we give the period for everybody to raise their hands, I'll ask you what that is, and then I'll take a brief review to make sure that everybody is a voting member.
We have 2 raised hands right now. Are those for comment? Or are those for comments from Maddie and April? Or
yeah, Maddie, did you have something you wanted to say, or are you just testing your raised hand? Nope. Okay, it's gone. Great.
Okay, good. Perfect.
Okay, in that case, we are ready to go. The motion is to adopt the amendment to the bylaws as previously described that will change the way that we vote for the board of directors starting with any vacancy elections this year and the meeting that will happen in September. Now I'm going to ask before I ask everybody to raise their hand, I want to note that the threshold to pass this motion is 66%. And it counts the number of votes that are cast, not the people that are here, not the whole entire organization. So that means 2/3 or more of the number of votes that are cast for this motion need to be in favor in order for it to pass. Okay. The motion is, as described, that we adopt the amendment to the bylaws. I ask that everyone who's in favor of this motion please raise their hand in Zoom now. Okay, I have not seen any hands change in the last few seconds. So Rob, can you go ahead and record the number of hands that are raised and let me know?
Yes, there are 66 hands raised right now.
Okay, we have 66 in favor. Can we go ahead and lower all those hands, Rob?
Yep. Sorry, I'm taking the screenshot.
Yep, you're good.
Open. There are 71 participants right now, which I also captured within the screenshot.
Thank you.
Clear feedback. All right. Feedback is clear.
Okay. All of the hands are now lowered. Can I ask everyone who is opposed to the motion to raise their hand now? I'm just going to give this an extra second to make sure nobody's scurrying back to the computer. But I haven't seen any hands changed. So Rob, can you confirm that you also see no hands raised right now?
Correct. I see no hands raised. We had one person join in the middle of the vote. So we currently have 72 listed participants.
Okay. So that is 0 votes against. I'm counting the vote as 66 votes in favor of adopting the amendment and 0 against. That means the motion passes and we have adopted the amendment. So there isn't any other Judge Foundry business to take care of today. The secretary will create the minutes. The committee will approve the minutes. We'll get those on the website, and then everyone will see the results of our bylaws amendment for our election in September. I'm going to thank everybody for coming out. Thanks to the bylaws committee. Thanks to Matt. Thanks to the rest of the board for getting this done. I know a lot of people wanted this to happen, and I appreciate everybody making it out to make it happen. We'll go ahead and end the meeting here. I heard word of a post-meeting hangout elsewhere. I'm sure you can find that in the chat. Everyone have a wonderful evening, and thanks for coming out.
Later, alligators.
After a while, crocodile.
Rob, your beard is beautiful.
Thank you. All right, and I'm going to end meeting here.